Recording. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week of Soul2Soul Conversations. I am Joy Ross and
Ame-Lia Tamburrini. So beautiful to be here with you, Joy Ross, and with you, the viewers. Love these Wednesdays. Really, like, it doesn't matter how I feel coming in. The minute we go live, I'm jazzed.
agree. Okay, and you guys, we show up here in the raw, unfiltered, unscripted, just as we are week to week. And full disclosure, today was one of those days where it's just been hectic for both Ame-Lia and I, and like things coming up that we didn't plan and just having to navigate around. And literally a couple minutes before we went live, it's like, oh, we should talk today about what to do when you're having a hectic day. And it's like, what? And now we're going live in 2 minutes. So we might talk about that. Who knows? But thank you all for watching. Thank you for catching us on replay, which we've discovered most of you guys do watch on replay. Any way you watch, whether it's live or replay, we're so happy to have you joining in with us in our weekly conversations about all things, deep things, surface level things, funny things, serious things. We just sort of show up, and whatever's on our hearts week to week, we're committed to talking in an unfiltered way, even talking about topics that are sometimes difficult to talk about, and being able to navigate all the conversations in a way that is respectful of each other. And we just show up really with curiosity and wanting to learn. And we do these because we're both in the work of doing these types of things with our clients and facilitating dialogues and sort of teaching the principles of how to effectively communicate, how to do that with compassion, empathy, and understanding. So we want to hold ourselves accountable to that. And really, we were getting fed up with sitting back and watching what has been happening in society over these past few years or so. And it doesn't seem to be getting any better in terms of people being so divisive and not seeming to be able to talk with people and be in rooms together, even when you have different opinions, and navigate in a way that still respects humanity in ways that are kind. So that's what we're doing here week after week, folks. And it's all soul to soul, heart to heart. Did I sum that up about right, Ame-Lia?
You do such a good job. I love that you open us up, Joy Ross. It's I think you did. And one thing came to mind just because one of my interviews this morning was about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging work, and just like what is going on there, and what are some tips for organizations that are stepping into that dialogue. And something that you said brought something up for me, which is like, we step in with curiosity and like, what am I going to learn here? And for me, that's like a life motto, to reduce any anxiety around what I'm about to step into, especially if it's going to be a quote unquote difficult conversation, or a conversation that might feel a bit prickly or bring up my own stuff or bring up the other person's trauma responses. And when I sit in the energy of what can I learn here? How am I going to expand in this conversation? How will I be able to live a better, more fulfilling, joy-filled life because of what I'm about to experience, even if it means, especially if it means I'm going to go through something that is not going to feel so good. So we talked a lot about the reframe, and so much of these difficult conversations we go in with dread, and it just doesn't help, because then we're on the defensive. We want to protect ourselves. But imagine if we instead walked in, which I think is what we do here every single Wednesday. We walk in with curiosity and, oh my gosh, what is Joy going to say? And where is that going to take us? And it always takes us on a magical journey ride where we have no idea where we're going to end up or travel through. But it's fun. And you and I have a special relationship that allows us to do that. But just for anybody watching, play around with setting your intention to walk into a conversation with curiosity about how you are going to expand, or just setting yourself up for, oh, what's the opportunity here for me? Something that just gets your vibe a little bit higher as you go in, and you'll have a better experience one way or another. So that's what came up for me with your intro, which was so brilliant.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And that raised for me, on a similar note, being curious about yourself, right? Like I play around with that as well, and set my intention to observe myself. And what I've found in that is that it really, and this is maybe for people like me who have struggled at times with being overly self-critical, being borderline perfectionistic, and sort of slipping into those modes where you're really hard on yourself. Oh man, I didn't say that right. Or, oh, I should have done that better. Or, oh man, why didn't I think to say it this way or that way? What I have found is when I get playful internally with myself and turn my self-talk into, okay, I'm going into this and let's see what happens, it totally reframes how I view me. And so I find that in doing that, even there's less self-doubt, less self-criticism, and all those things that often are based in false realities anyway, but those things that can also get us tripped up and get us stuck. So
yeah. Ooh, that's juicy. I love that. Yes.
Yeah. So like, who am I going to be today in this conversation?
Yeah. And like, who do I want to be? Like, get intentional. That's the other thing. We talked a lot about that in another workshop I ran today on manifesting. And really, so much of that is about get intentional, get conscious about what you want to create in your life, in your day, in the next conversation. And play around with that. And like literally play around with it. Have fun and dream big and dream about a possibility that might seem crazy to you, and go in with that and see what unfolds and have fun. I love that, Joy. Yeah.
I want to, I'm loving your, I always sort of fixate on terminology. And so you've said intention several times, and you also mentioned reframing. I want to pick up on that, because another thing that just before we came on in our very short 60-second conversation before hitting live, we had started talking about like, what do you do when things don't go as planned? And that's real. Like that's a reality. And I was sharing with you like some things that were going on with me today before we went live. And I had sort of had things planned out, and for a variety of reasons, just seemed like minute by minute, hour by hour, things are just popping up unexpectedly, and all the things. And so what's actually hitting me right now is a solution to my own, like the question that I was asking, what do you do? And yeah, I'm no novice, right, to the fact that we plan. Like, I think we all can relate to, that's life. Sometimes we plan and things don't go according to plan. However, it doesn't make it necessarily any easier, right? It's like, I know that things don't go according to plan. It doesn't keep me necessarily from feeling angst or feeling, or like that internal low key stress when it happens. But one, I think, effective way to quickly snap out of that is to reframe it in the moment, which I didn't even think about that until you mentioned the word reframe. And that's exactly what I've been doing literally all day today. Well, not all day, right? Because I haven't been doing it every minute of the day, but there have been many times today, this morning before we went live, even that I had to reframe, which looks like me breathing, after getting that unexpected email or phone call or text message that throws a wrench into the plan. It's like, okay, first of all, breathe. And I'm laughing, but that does something physically in the body to infuse intentionally. There's the word, right? Intentionally infuse breath and calm. Even as I'm doing it now, like I'm starting to feel more relaxed. And then just reframe. Okay, this happened. I didn't plan for it. However, I have options. And then just turn my attention toward, okay, what are my options here? What are my choices here? And then make the best choice for me in the moment. That's like a reframe, going from, oh man, I didn't plan for this. What am I going to do? And I don't know. And all those questions that really don't move you forward. To, okay, I've been here before. This is life. There have been many times when I plan, it doesn't go according to plan. This too shall pass. I will get through this. Now let me focus on my options, like reframe it. So what do you do, Ame-Lia, when things don't go as planned?
Yeah, good question. Well, two other things I was thinking about around this conversation around reframe, and then maybe I'll have something else in my mind around what I do. But I love the idea of thinking about life as an adventure, and I'm making a choice, and that creates a result, and then something happens, and then it's twists and turns and bends and ups and downs and whatever. So sometimes I literally just picture myself in this funny little cartoon scene on an adventure, being like, "Ooh, I didn't expect that thing to pop out of the bushes, but there it is." I do that when I'm flying sometimes because turbulence makes me very anxious and I get nauseous. And I learned to, first of all, take deep breaths. Love that tip. And second of all, I suddenly imagine myself on a roller coaster ride. So I'm like, okay, I'm just like up and down, I'm up and down, like on this roller coaster ride. And for whatever reason, it calms me down and allows me to just go with that flow a little bit more. Another thing, I was watching this amazing video with Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Buddhist monk from Thailand, Vietnam. And he passed away a couple years ago, but he was on Oprah, and Oprah was asking him to explain death, like what happens when we die. And he had this beautiful way of framing it where, he's like, we get really sad and there's loss and we're really thinking about death in a certain way. But his reframe was essentially like, think of people dying like clouds. Like you can get fixated on a cloud and it's being there and you have this favorite cloud and it's so beautiful. But then that cloud, it like transforms into rain or snow or ice. It still exists. It's still there, but it's in a different form. And what that can do for how we feel about those situations, it can bring lightness, it can bring comfort, it can bring joy. So those are two things like on opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of how one might reframe to bring more ease into their body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that use of imagination,
Mm.
because thoughts are so powerful, and that, visualizing that cloud analogy paints a vivid picture, right? And then even like seeing yourself in a cartoon, I laughed at that because I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm not the only one that does that. How many of you guys do that? Do any of you, I would love to know, do any of you do that? Because Ame-Lia, I do the same. Like sometimes I'll literally, and it makes me laugh, right? It's just a
Mhm.
way to infuse humor too, and it just keeps things interesting. I'll see my own scenario as like a cartoon. And then my mind gets to go in a different direction and play and have fun. And what if all types of
Yeah.
scenarios, which takes me out of the stress of the moment. What's fascinating to me, back to the clouds, about that analogy and that way of looking at death. There is a scripture, I'm sure this is going to stick with me because there's a scripture in the Bible, one of my favorites, that refers to us having this great cloud of witnesses.
Hmm.
And I've always found that phrase interesting. Like, why is it worded that way? Like, we have a great cloud of witnesses. So, knowing that, and these are like the people that have gone before us, right?
Mm.
In faith, knowing that, let us run our race, our individual journeys, with faith and patience and et cetera, et cetera. But now that just totally expanded my view of that verse.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, we have a cloud of witnesses. Like, we don't even know the half of what it's like when we transition, from
Yeah.
here, from these physical bodies, and we don't know the half of what actually is in the spirit realm, things that are way more real than the things that we see. That's why, too, I love that using our imagination to
Mhm.
visualize things. That's powerful.
And it's so important. I mean, because we're making up stuff anyways, right? Like, so what we think it's real, we're like, nope. This thing is unfolding, and this is how it is. Well, is it? Maybe that's just the thought you have that's based on a belief, and you can change the belief that will lead to another thought that will lead to another reality. And if we're making up stories anyways, we might as well make up stories that serve our greater purpose,
Mhm.
which is to live life.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yeah,
Yeah, may as well be intentional about the stories that
live.
we make up, right?
Yes, yeah,
Infuse them with joy and curiosity and laughter.
yeah, and curiosity, like you said, and um, that I feel like that just keeps us open to new possibilities versus coming into situations feeling like it's only this way, it can only be this way, it only seems like it is this way, therefore it is. Not Nope, not true. Yeah.
Yeah, another powerful thing, thinking about these situations that we get into. In my case, it was the situation of having planned out, like your day,
Mhm.
for instance, and then things start happening from the left and from the right and from all over, right? Everything, everywhere, all at once. Things
Yay!
happening,
Love
and
that movie.
yeah, that you hadn't planned for. But really, in any situation where, due to reasons outside of ourselves, right? We have incoming things, whatever those things are, that make us feel stress or anxiety, or like just that feeling of, we can always, in those moments, reframe what's happening in our minds. And we can literally create a movie, right, in our own minds of seeing whatever that situation is turn out the way that we want it to. We can even create option A, like when movies are being before they come out to the public, sometimes they'll do these like focus groups, and they'll literally test out different endings to see which one will work best. We can do that in our minds. Be like, okay, wait, let me play this out this way. Let me play this out that way. Okay, let me play it out if it happens this way. And we can choose which outcome we want and like sort of move in that direction. What I love about that, I'm just thinking about that in the moment. What I love about that is it is forward focused instead of taking the other option, which I'm sure I know I've been guilty of this. The other option is to not be intentional about visualizing in that moment and instead just sit in the reality of what is, right? The thing that we don't want, the thing that's frustrating, the thing that's like, stressful, that doesn't move us forward. It actually takes that feeling of stress or anxiety and it makes it bigger because that's what we're focusing on is the thing. We're not focusing on the future or forward positive outcome that we want.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it's constant work. Like it doesn't stop. But if we can bring joy to the journey, if we can surround ourselves with other people who will support us as well, to not drown or get stuck in the way that we are seeing things. Because, we sometimes have those friends that just want to perpetuate or help us stay in the misery. But for me, that you ask what I do, often I call a friend that I know will help me see things from a different perspective. Because sometimes it's simply hard / impossible for me to see a situation from a different perspective. So that's also supportive.
That's so true. Can we underscore that? Because me too, Ame-Lia, like even over the past few days, I've had like in my morning this morning, what helped to push me forward was having a conversation with somebody and she just asked, "Oh, how's your day going?" I'm like, "Well, honestly, here's, and I just like real quick explain, I'm feeling like, and then I don't even remember what she said, but it helped my brain to pivot and reframe. And it wasn't something new that she told me. It was whatever it was. I was like, duh, of course. But you're right. Sometimes in the moment, it's not as easy as it sounds. So thank God for having people in our circles, right? People that we're in community with, that we can bounce things off of and who will help us to move forward and not just be stuck in the mud, right? Commiserating about whatever it is. Yeah, that's so important.
Mm-hmm. I love that. In that video, Thich Nhat Hanh, he brought mindfulness over to the West, and was involved in bringing peace to so many places around the world through meditation and mindfulness. And he collaborated with Martin Luther King Jr. and just an amazing, amazing individual. But he was demonstrating like walking meditation, and he said it's as simple as, with every step you take, you're first of all connected to your breath. That breath, it's always there to serve us. And then you take a step like you are the happiest person in the world. Just walking down the street. Every step, you're like, I'm the happiest person in the world. And like instantly, I'm smiling. But imagine if you, face this crazy day and all the things coming in, and you're like, oh, I'm the happiest person in the world. Like, how would that person be in this moment? Because I think too, sometimes we have so much privilege in general. Like we're just an abundance of everything in our lives, and we can get really trapped in getting kind of whiny about things that really don't matter. Like when I have busy days, sometimes I'm like, oh, I've got so much to do. And it's like, I have so much to do. That's friggin' amazing. Thank God. Like, I have clients, I have friends to visit, I have, all of these things versus being like, oh, my life is so hard. Yeah.
I love that. I'm cracking up right now because I am literally like my joy tank is literally filling up during this conversation. And that thing about walking and saying, oh, I'm the happiest person in the world. Like in my head, I heard like the naysayers, like the little, peanut gallery saying, oh, well, yeah, that sounds good. But that's like, who really does that? And I thought, no, the simplicity of that's yet another powerful example of what we can do with our minds, because it doesn't mean that you're feeling like you're the happiest person in the world. It's just, again, being intentional. There's that word, right? It's being intentional about seeing yourself that way in your mind in that moment. And that literally can shift. It literally shifts like your energy. And so I started laughing because I saw myself in what you were saying, because you're so right. We can get so easily caught up in the minutia of the things, whatever that is, like you were saying, oh, I've got, so many calls today, or, so many deadlines, or, so many friends to visit. Okay, what? And that may be true, but what's also true is, oh my gosh, like, thank God I have work, right? Thank God I have clients. Thank God I have friends to visit. So perspective and reframe, and just being able to laugh at ourselves, right? Because that just caused me to laugh at myself when I heard you, saying all of that. And hey, laughter is medicine. So we can lighten up, on ourselves, and just the more we laugh, the less stress we have too.
Yeah. Yeah. And for people that are like, well, life is serious and life is hard and there are things and all of that. And yes, and yes. And for a lot of people, especially working in social justice, environmental justice, and things are heavy, and from an energetic perspective, when we choose joy, when we choose happiness, when we choose lightness, we are emanating an energy, and that is having a huge impact on the entire world. So if you're a change maker out there, this is something to seriously consider and commit to, because you're making a massive impact just by how you deliberately choose to show up in your life. So that's something that motivates me as well, just to think about it on that. And it's like, oh, well, what's the energy I'm putting out there into the world if I'm all just like grumpy and stressed and all of those emotions? Yeah. So what do I want to put out into the world? It is a choice. It's a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, not to bring it down to this serious.
And so we go from here, yay, laughter. So in some, right, conclusion, it is a choice.
It's your responsibility.
Choose happiness. Hey, but that's reality, right? And like you're saying, there can be things rarely are either or.
Mm.
Okay, either or is often a false reality, right? So it can both be true that we have heavy, serious, weighty things to deal with in life. And at the same time, we can choose to incorporate some tools like reframing, like intention, like laughter, and managing our energy while tending to the serious matters.
Yeah.
And the difference is that it makes it easier to navigate. That's what I find, right? Because my work is heavy. Like in my work, I'm dealing with environmental justice, social justice, racial equity, and these things that, oh man, talk about bringing up trauma and stress and all of that. And so part of it is a coping mechanism. And like you're saying, Ame-Lia, for you guys, for those of us who are wanting to be on the forefront of change and having an impact and leading, it's essential that we show up in places and spaces bringing an energy into the room that others can feed off of, an energy that can spark joy in other people, that can spark laughter and other feelings that are higher in frequency. And in doing that, we're making positive impact, even while addressing real serious heavy issues.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take away from that. We can laugh and tackle serious topics at the same time.
Brilliant. Like, as you said, laughter is medicine. And it is in those moments that we need that medicine the most. In the communities I've worked with around the world that are so impoverished, so hard done by, humor is always present. And it is a way to thrive in hard times. So I think that's a beautiful place to end, Joy. I love that you brought it back to it's both and. So thank you for that.
It's both your choice and your responsibility. No, you guys, let us know what do you do? Do you guys reframe things? Do you put emphasis on at least trying to be intentional during tough moments, whether that's intentional in word or intentional in, let me shift my energy to be more positive? What types of things do you guys do? We would love to know.
Yeah. Love that question. Yeah. The more you share, the more we all learn and grow and expand.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys, for tuning in this week, and have a beautiful rest of your week. And we'll see you next time on Soul to Soul. Peace.
Ciao.